Let me go back to this and rephrase this. God uses us as vessels to carry out his will. He should look at the mindset of each individual, peoples, nations, and tongue. In Ezekiel chapter 9, he said, call every man with his destroying weapon who has charge over the city and bring them over here. Every man. And start at my house first, which is the land of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the 12 tribes of Israel. Call them. And God, what it's telling us, it didn't tell us how God was going to call them over there, but he said, call them. If you got a hostile man, a man excited about wars, using wars, then you do something to him to provoke him to come after you. So what God did when he said call them, Jesus had them to come and knock down the Trade Center building. This is what happened was because it clearly spoke of in Ezekiel chapter 9 that God spoke to Jesus and said, call them and tell them to come to my house. If God was the author and told him, said it, and it's written down here in Bible prophecy, then God had them. He was the mastermind to knock down the Trade Center building. This was no work by no man. We might accuse a man, but he did this here. And the man heard the call. The little horn came in and knocked down the Trade Center building, causing them to Armageddon. Once they knocked down the Twin Tower Trade Center building in the year of 2000, in September 11, 2000, they said, turn, bring the line over to us, Afghanistan. The go to set was Afghanistan. Longhorn was the fighting force of Afghanistan. Shorthorn was the military fighting force of Bin Laden in the province of Ulayah. Once the president refused, which was the goal, the United States went over and the other nations, sister nations, bombarded this land. Using long B-52 bomber, this became the He-Goat with the notable horn in the center, which is the antenna for the radar. But when it came there and pounded, it flew out of St. Louis and came over there with no protection ground. It knocked down, it tore down up the infrastructure until they showed one part of what they had did some damage. And I saw people's legs and body parts mingle in the dirt, which the camera captured. Apparently they may have not seen this, but it kept the body parts of people's mingle with the dirt, full feeling this here part here. Now, we're going to go and talk about this chapter here a little bit, because we got to pay a horse. We got to pay a horse this coming. Therefore, the he-goat, verse 8, chapter 8, verse, therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken. This was the first war. But it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of the heaven. The 4 horns was, excuse me, it's not in this recording, the military fighting forces of the United States of America. Air Force, Army, Navy, and Marine. 4 notable horns. They began to fight the ground forces, 4 military fighting forces of the United States of America, after the knocking down of the Twin Tower Trade Center building, after the bombardment. It said the he-goat stamped up. That was the B-52 bomber. Once these here B-52 bombers bombarded this Afghanistan, then the military forces, which were the 4 military fighting forces of the United States of America, the Air Force, Army, Navy. They was the ground soldiers. The four, it said, therefore the he-goat waxed grew very great, which was the United States of America, and when he was grew strong, the the great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds. In other words, once it was broken, it means it was not using the B-52 bombers anymore. It hadn't been depleted them, but they put in a ground force of four military fighting forces, which was the Air Force, Army, Navy, and Marine, four military fighting forces on the ground. In other words, they're still using the military airstrike, but they was not using the B-52 bombers, which was the he-goat with bombarding the place here with the B-52 bombers, which was flying out of St. Louis. They quit using that and started using the medium range weapons where if they called in an airstrike, they can get it right on time because of that took over. This is exactly what it's talking about. Now, let's go to another part here. Now, and out of one of them came forth a little horn which waxed exceedingly great toward the south, and toward the east, and towards the pleasant land. This is the same verse that's spoken of in Daniel chapter 7. It's that little horn that have eyes, which was spoken of in Daniel chapter 7. The eyes is what a person see with. So a CIA is spy. You spy with the eye. So the little one that had the eyes, when you go back to Daniel chapter 7, which is the replica of this would be the CIA. It tells you this horn had eyes in Daniel chapter 7. And it waxed great to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Yes, he magnified himself, even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. In other words, everything about Jesus Christ, everything about God was taken away. The daily sacrifice was the law of Moses. As I said in the beginning, and I say it now, it was the law that myself, who live by the Spirit of Moses, and John the Baptist, Elijah, and Jesus Christ, we all died for that law. We was slain for that law over 2,000 years ago when Jesus went to the cross. When Jesus went to the cross, it sealed a final analysis of the three individuals selected by God, two witnesses and Jesus Christ, to be slain for this law. This was the daily sacrifice. Now, and verse 12, and host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and he cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. In other words, he took the holy peoples and placed defiled peoples up there who taken on a law of democracy. Replaced the law of Moses with the law of democracy. The law of Moses was the truth, but the law of democracy was a defile created by man. Then I heard this one saying, verse 13, Daniel 8:13. Then I heard one saying, speak, and another saying, said unto that certain saying, which spake, how long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be treaded under foot. In other words, he wanted to know how long was God going to allow this man to continue to slaughter the children of Abraham, the seed of Abraham. without